Welcome to the CAD Builder video tutorial series. In this video, we will take a look at how to enable grain matching to your cabinet fronts so that it applies properly. This is done by assigning grain matching groups to cabinets, with each group representing a sheet of the associated material. We will review the different options the software gives you, whether you would like to set the grain match per cabinet or to automatically apply and then check out the optimization results, as well as see how it looks in 3D. To start, let's select the main menu at the top left of the screen. Navigate down to the Application Settings, select it, and then open the Design tab to see the options for the grain match mode. In the drop-down at the top, you can select None, Per Cabinet, or Automatic. If the grain match mode is set to None, then the grain matching will not be automatically activated and will rely on your manual input. If you set it to per cabinet, then a grain matching group is created to each cabinet individually without trying to match it with any surrounding cabinets. And lastly, if you set it to automatic, the program will automatically assign grain matching groups limited to the material width and height. Right here is where you can set those dimensions for the maximum group width as well as the maximum group height. For this example today, we will set the width to 47 inches and the height to 95 inches, which will account for CNC tool bit diameters and trims with vertical grained fronts. Then we will hit the Apply button on the bottom of the screen. Now let's begin with a new design. Name the design, save it, and we'll drop in some walls. Next, we'll open the elevation view where we will be bringing in our cabinets and viewing our grain match groups. We'll start by bringing in a 3-drawer stack base cabinet, and notice the label at the bottom reads Grain 1. This just indicates it is the first grain group assigned within this design. When I bring in another cabinet, it will automatically show a new grain group, unless it's small enough to be able to fit on the same sheet. For example, these cabinets are 12 inches wide, so they should be able to fit on the same sheet. Therefore, they will all show a label of Grain 1 at the bottom of each cabinet. Next, we will bring in a full height door base, 24 deep by 24 wide, and place it next to my previous cabinets. Since this additional size would not fit on the same sheet, it will now have a label of Grain 2. Now I'll bring in a tall cabinet, a utility cabinet, 24 deep by 90 high and 18 inches wide, and drop it next to the Grain 2 cabinet. Then we'll pull in a wall cabinet, let's say 12 inches deep by 36 high and 24 wide. We can see now that the wall cabinet will be automatically set to a different grain group because it's separated from the base cabinet. However, we can manually override this by selecting the cabinet, looking at its attributes, and selecting the Grain Match Group section. Open the drop-down list and select Grain 2 so that it will match the base cabinet grain. And notice that the label becomes italicized and bold, indicating that we manually locked this one in. We can see a summary of these assignments by clicking on a cabinet, going to the Grain Match Group section, clicking on the Edit button to the right of the drop-down. So here we see that we have 2 grain groups and each one has 3 cabinets in it, and the one that we manually edited shows a little lock icon next to it. This means that no matter what the automatic algorithm says, this will always be Group 2. You can also create new groups from here, delete them, as well as rename them. If you click on the Reset button, this will reset all the manual overrides and recalculate the grain groups, or you can choose individual cabinets by selecting them and selecting Reset. Please note that grain matching only works for slab doors and MDF one-piece doors and is relevant only when the front materials are grained. So let's go back to the design and open our design options and assign the construction method. For this design, we'll select the Trial Framed Standard Overlay. Next, I'll set my lower and upper door construction to slab doors with vertical grain direction. And we will also assign a finish to make sure this gets applied properly to get a good result. Then hit Apply at the bottom. Let's take a look at our 3D view and zoom in so we can see the grain clearly. You can see that the grain goes through the front, continuing on to the door fronts above, and we can see cabinets next to each other are matching as well. This is ideally what we would like to see when we send this to the CNC. Now that our doors are complying with our grain match assignments, let's go ahead and optimize this and see how it turns out. Open the cut list, select Configure and Optimize, and I'll uncheck the remnants since I won't be using those. And in the Materials section above, I'll only check the door material, which will be the 3/4 inch G1S plywood birch. My nesting settings are already set, so now I will hit Optimize at the bottom. This brings us to the Optimizer section, and notice that the doors will be highlighted in yellow. This represents doors that are part of a grain match group. If we select one of these doors, the entirety of the group will be highlighted in orange to show you exactly where they're going to be lining up. And CAB Builder will attempt to keep the spacing between the parts consistent, and it will move parts as needed to achieve this. For instance, if I was using a full overlay assignment where I'm keeping a 1/8 inch reveal between all of the fronts, but all I have to work with is a 3/8 inch compression bit, then CAB Builder will still nest those. It will attempt to match them as best as it can, but it will have to make the spacing 3/8 inch as opposed to the standard 1/8 inch. Although in this case, we have enough space between them that this will not happen. Now, as previously seen with that wall cabinet, you can manually assign grain matching groups to your cabinets. However, that can result in broken grain matches. For instance, I'll go back to the design and add another wall cabinet and match it with grain 2. This goes over the 4-foot width measurement that I am looking for, and if I try to nest it, it will have to break up the doors to make this happen. So I'll go back to the cut list and hit Configure and Optimize again and optimize my doors. It will give me a message. Grain matched groups split. Some grain matched fronts do not fit on the material and must be split to nest. Do you want to continue with this operation, or do you want to return and modify these groups? On the left, it lists the material and the grain group. If I hit Return, it will allow me to go back and review some of my assignments and see if there's something I would like to change. If I hit Confirm, the optimization will go through. Up here is that grain match 2, but the pair of doors are then brought over to this other section. Going back to the design for a minute, these grain matching labels can be turned on or off for both the plan and elevation view. I would simply open the main menu at the top left and select the application settings, then Display, and navigate down to the Grain Match Display Settings section. Here I can check the box for the group label to display either on the plan view or elevation view or both, and hit Apply at the bottom. We can take a look at the plan view, and now you can see these grain group labels are appearing for each of the cabinets, similar to how they appear in the elevation. However, it usually makes more sense to view it from the elevation view, since your doors are in this plane. One more item to note: if you are using a panel stock material that is grained, you will need to make sure that the grained option is checked on in the materials properties. To do this, open the Materials Management module, then Materials, and select the panel stock group. In the center section, select the material that you are using and take a look at the right side under Materials Properties. Scroll down to the panel section, and here you can check the Grained checkbox to be sure grain matching gets applied. Now that we have reviewed the grain matching options, as well as how to apply these to your cabinets, you will be able to show your customers their design in 3D with the grain cabinet finishes aligning properly. This will allow you to create a more refined rendering of your design that will be sure to impress your customer. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. To view additional video tutorials, please visit www.cabbuildersoftware.com/training.